Alright guys, so today we're going to talk about inscribed angles. So an inscribed angle is the measure, an inscribed angle is, say, angle ABC. It's an angle that is inside of a circle. Another one I could have would be if I had my center here. It doesn't always have to be on the other edge, but specifically all the way through is considered the inscribed. So that degree, so the measure of the inscribed angle, or the measure of angle B, is equal to 1/2 the measure of its intersected arc, which would be AC. So that means that this is 1/2 the size of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that into practice. So this guy here is 80. 80 divided by 2 has to be 40. So this guy down here is 40 degrees. If this small angle here is 42, I'm going to take 42 times 2 to get that outside angle of 84. Okay, just so we have enough room to work with. So I'm trying to find this arc. This arc is made by this angle. Well, I don't necessarily know that angle yet, but I do know that this angle is 35, so this arc must be 35 times 2, which gives me 70. And hey, look, there's a diameter, so that's 180 degrees here between this whole big bad boy. So 180 minus 70 gives me 110. Oops. But I want to point out something as well. Besides all those three colors, I'm going to erase those for a moment. If you notice, I said that this was 35, but I have another angle that also works with this arc here of FP. It's over here at angle D. So since those angles go to the same arc, angle D would also have to be 35 degrees. Yes, you need to know that. It is on your homework. Alright, so this arc over here in this next problem deals with this angle. Oops. Let's try that one more time. This arc deals with this angle. If I have two of the three angles in my triangle, I know that a triangle adds to 180, so I can take 180 minus 49 minus 70. Which means that angle B is 61 degrees. So I'm going to take that 61, maybe, multiplied by 2. So this is 122, oops, not 112, 122 degrees. Not too bad. These ones are a little bit more intensive. We got to take a look at what we're really looking for. So this arc is not really used by just one piece. So that being said, let's take a look at what we do know. Well, if this guy is 119, and that means this whole big arc has to be 119 times 2, which gives me 238. But I already know 168 of that. So that means that this missing piece over here is 70 degrees. I also know that this angle deals with this arc, and that's 65 times 2, which gives me 130. But again, I'm already talking about 70 degrees of it, so therefore this has to be 60 degrees. If this angle is 95, this arc has to be 95 times 2, which is 190. And then 360 minus 190 minus 75 gives me this 95 degrees. Okay, I'll move these up a little bit, just so I have a little bit more room to work with my picture. Alright, so first thing I know is that this whole big bad boy has to be 110 times 2, which gives me 220. Well, I see I have a 30x here, so that means I'm going to have to do some kind of algebra skills. So my whole circle is 360. Minus the 220 I know. Minus the 50 I know. Which is equal to 30x. So if I go ahead and do all that math, I should get 90 is equal to 30x, which means x would have to be 3. Now, you're probably saying, well, why didn't you set it up as 220 plus 50 plus 30x equals 360? Well, I already knew ahead of time that I was going to subtract off the pieces that I already knew, the degrees I knew, which, yes, if you set it up the purple way, it's going to get you the same idea. And then you can just divide by that 30 right away. So over here, that arc is 31x plus 3. But that's not equal to 192. That's equal to 192 divided by 2. So we're going to cut that guy in half. That gives me 96. So I have 31x plus 3 is equal to 96. Subtract 3 and I get 31x equals 93. And yes, x is also 3 in this case. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Couldn't find him. Alright, the measure of an angle formed by a tangent and a chord is half the measure of the intercepted arc. So what that's saying here is the measure of angle C is equal to 1/2 the measure of arc BDC. And that's true for both pictures, whether we're talking about the minor arc here or the major arc here. When it's dealing with just a chord, now remember, a chord's not a diameter. Excuse me. Remember, a chord is not a diameter, so that is why it's not just a nice right angle. It's going to actually be half of the arc measure. So let's try these couple examples. So this big whole arc here is 246 degrees. W is going to be 240 divided by 2, which gives me 123. Oops. 246. I forgot the 6 there, which is why the 123 makes more sense now. So let's find y, because I think it's easier to find y, because I can just take 60 minus 230, which gives me 130. And then now that I know y corresponds with that x, so x will be half of that. Which is 65. Alright, this big old bad problem. So the best way to approach this one is to first find one of the missing pieces. So if this whole thing up here is 240, I know that 360 minus 240 will give me the rest of that piece, which is 120. So this arc down here is 120 degrees. But here's the $1,000,000 question. What do you know about an arc and a central angle? Because isn't x a central angle? Yeah, they're equal. So therefore x has to be 120 degrees. So I'm going to move this 120. Because I don't want too many numbers on this problem because there's a lot of things I'm working with. So we at least found x. Yay! Alrighty, so let's talk about z. Z is dealing with a line and part of an arc, and my arc here, this minor arc of 120. And that is dealing with a tangent line and an arc, which is what we just kind of talked about here. So I'm going to take that, this whole arc is 120, and I'm going to divide that by 2. So to find z, I'm taking that 120 divided by 2, which gives me 60 degrees. So z is 60. Oops, I have to go back to that. Alright, and my last step. Well, the thing that get me to my last step. What magical shape do I see right here? Yeah, triangle. So triangles add to 180. Well, if this arc over here is 60, wouldn't this one also have to be 60 because you're using the exact same piece? I forgot to circle that. Because you're using the same arc of 120, so therefore it still has to be half of that, so it'd be 60. So then I have to find y, 180 minus 60 minus 60, which gives me another 60. So y is equal to 60 degrees. So yes, a lot of colors on that one, but you just gotta use a little bit of your math skills. Hints, there's 2 like this on your homework. All right, see you tomorrow.